Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the North American and EU division here at Rush Racing League. It is round 2. We head from the streets of Miami around the Miami Dolphins football stadium at the Hard Rock Cafe, and now we travel to a more historic and conventional racing circuit. It is a sprint weekend here at Imola. It's going to be a fun race here today. 3.05 miles around, 4.9 kilometers, and it is 21 turns of just pure class and honestly probably a bit of pure chaos too. It is myself, Rekis, in the commentary box alongside the one, the only Gamehawk. How are you today?
Oh, I am doing very, very well. I'm happy to be back in Rush Racing League for another North American race. We had a little bit of a break, had about what do you say, like a 2-week break in between Miami to Imola, but I'm excited to get this back. And as you said, Imola can be chaotic, and I've did my fair share of racing and watching people race, and Imola can be very chaotic indeed. So I'm very excited to see how this race is going to turn out.
Yeah, Imola is not an easy track by any stretch. I mean, if you look at a track map of it, it may look like it's kind of simple. It may look like, oh, this track should play like Monza. It does not play like Monza. In particular, the Grassini chicane, turn 14 and 15, is pretty much the leader of qualifying lap times. But speaking of qualifying lap times, we were talking about this before the broadcast, Gamehawk, but there was no qualifying today because it is as a bit of an experiment, right? They have opted to use the reverse championship standings to set our grid for both races here today. So, yeah, I'm actually really curious to see how that's going to work, and I wonder if that will carry over to the rest of Rush Racing League in the OCE.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing to see happen, but I am kind of interested to see how it's going to work because I have actually seen this method used before. There's a couple other like open lobbies that I've been a part of, and what they do is that they have some AI drivers and they'll put all the real drivers at the back, so that you have to navigate your way to the front. So I'm kind of curious to see how much of like that concept will merge with this, if some of the leaders who, and especially the people like Umbreon and Meraki Dawn who finished in the podium at Miami, it's going to be very interesting to see if it's going to be that kind of weaving in between the pack trying to get through, or is it going to give the people at the back who maybe didn't have a great race and in Miami, that maybe it's going to give them a chance to get up ahead. So yeah, just like you, I'm very curious to see how that's going to go, but I'm kind of interested.
It kind of reminds me of like reverse of like what the World Endurance Championship does, where it's almost like multi-class racing, where typically they put like the hypercars and then the LMP2s and then the GT3s. Well, now they got rid of LMP2s out of WEC, so it's just the GTs and the hypercars. But it's like if you kind of reversed out it, where you have the GT3 start ahead of the hypercars. So it's going to be an interesting thing. I think it's going to shake up the results quite a bit here at Imola. But yeah, like you were talking about earlier, Imola has a chance of being really chaotic. I mean, it's a very historic circuit, but it really just does not play nice, especially if you're like kind of new to league racing. We do have drivers who compete in various different divisions here in the OCE. Some of these drivers exclusively compete in North America / EU, but I know there's quite a few of them that some familiar faces do like to participate in OCE as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this all does tend to play out. Like you said, it's a bizarre one. I honestly like, I've been a commentator for about roughly a year and a half, I would say. But in my year and a half of commentating for various leagues on various different platforms like F1, Gran Turismo, Le Mans Ultimate, etc., I can't say I've seen anything quite like this. So once again, Rush is just pushing boundaries on what could be possible in F1 esports.
Yeah, and you like to see it because it makes it not only interesting for the people watching, but it also makes it interesting for the drivers as they encounter these different challenges and have to try and work their way around the challenges to try and get the absolute best result. So I will say that we had talked about this before the stream as well, that we actually did bring up the driver standings, and now that we confirmed that that's how the qualifying works, that we can go ahead and pull up the drivers championships, and we can actually see what the qualifying is going to look like.
Indeed. So we'll go ahead and let you get that pulled up. And I mean, honestly, it's going to be a lot of fun here talking about these driver standings. So, I mean, a good thing is too is that there's drivers with some serious pace who really kind of got the short end of the stick or just didn't have a good race in Miami. So, I mean, we'll just take a look at the thing that I noticed is that there was 7 drivers who are registered with 0 points. So that would be Low Pro, Ryan Anderson, Tinzo, Gags, Pedro Jr., H-Town, and Tai Tai. So I think kind of based on who we have here in the lobby, although I won't really spoil anything, but right now Gags would be on pole position. Just taking a look at who we have in the lobby here at the moment. We're still waiting on a few more things before we go ahead and get green, so that's why we are getting the NA podcast for right now, but we'll see how this one plays out, because I mean, the big talking point is the championship leader, NYC Gaming. I mean, we talked to him after Miami 2 weeks ago, and he pretty much said that that Miami race was really going to be his only race. So, I mean, probably the best one-hit wonder in Rush Racing League history. And then that's going to also put Marakidon right at the back of the grid. So, it'll be interesting to see if the pseudo championship leader can go ahead and just claw his way up through the field.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see because I will say, going through the lobby that we currently have right now as everyone is loading in, that there are quite a few drivers from the bottom, what you were saying, that were already in here. So those drivers who didn't get any points, as far as I've seen, most of all of them are currently in the lobby right now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many of those drivers and how everything stacks up. But like you said, having Marakidon, Umbreon, Caxel, and even Reigns, all of them are going to be at the very, very back of the grid. So, and Imola is not the widest track, but I wouldn't necessarily be surprised to see if a lot of these drivers toward the back will get great starts. And who knows, we might see 3 wide going down into turn 1. That'll make for very interesting commentary from us, but I'm not sure if that's something that the drivers really want to get themselves stuck into. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see.
It will be interesting, and it'll be and for some of those drivers towards like the 0 point, who are like towards the lower end of the grid, which I mean, granted, Miami is a difficult track, which it's unfortunate that Miami isn't going to be used for the OCE season. It was scheduled to actually be tomorrow morning, was actually supposed to be Miami. We're going to kick things off. Actually, I think earlier this morning was actually supposed to be a kickoff for the Miami week, but due to a recently discovered issue with the track, which I haven't actually been told what it is, but there was an issue with the track that required it to be swapped out for Mexico. So OCE is running Mexico up next. So actually, if you want to see Rush Racing League tackle Miami in F125, you'll have to go for the North America race to find it. And this is going to be the not so subtle plug to go ahead and check out our YouTube channel at Official Rush Racing, and that way you can see all of the races pretty much right after the stream is done. We'll go ahead and get the stream re-uploaded to our YouTube channel. And then from there, you can rewatch all the action and even go rewatch the impressive drives that we saw in Miami. But like I was going to say, it's a good chance for some of these drivers like Gags, like H-Town, who didn't have the best of times in Miami, to turn it around and have a fantastic time here in Imola. And with it being a sprint weekend, you get double offers for points.
Yeah, and I mean, I will echo what Rekis was saying, that like, yeah, if you guys would definitely go and check out the races, that you guys can definitely go do that on YouTube, and we leave the VODs up on stream for you guys to check out. And just so far, it's been great racing, and I haven't been able to really catch the OCE racing, because unfortunately, being in North America, my schedule is a little bit different and crazy compared to the OCE races. But from what I've heard from Rekis and what I've heard all around, it's been absolutely great racing, and I just can't wait to see NA start to slowly match up to OCE, because so far, I think I would agree that from what I've seen in OCE, I think NA is really catching up, if you would agree, Rekis.
Oh, I would 100% agree. And I think there's something else that we can both agree on, is that I think it is a fantastic time to go ahead and send things to the track. The lobby is green. We have our grid set up, and we're jumping straight into the 11-lap sprint race here at Imola. A fantastic track. Well, the drivers are going to load in, pick their strategies, and we're going to forego qualifying and just jump straight on into the action. In typical North America fashion, we do not do things the normal way. We do things the perfectly North American way. So we're going to go ahead and just jump straight on into it. And I am honestly really looking forward to this one. This track has been around since 1953. It's a very historic circuit, although its most current iteration has really been around since about 1995 is roughly 1995 or 2008 are like the years where this track really started to kind of look very similar to the version we have now. But I mean, Imola is going to be it's going to be a fun race here in NA. And I'm really excited to see how these drivers navigate this reverse grid setup as we get ready to go green here. Honestly, any predictions, GameHawk, before we get started?
I honestly usually I do kind of have a prediction. I think this might be the first F1 race where I'm not all too confident because of the reverse grid. It kind of really throws everything you would think out the window, just because you don't know what's going to happen at the start. You don't know if the people at the back are going to get massive launches. You just don't know.
We see those 5 red lights on the gantry now, and it's lights out, away we go here in Imola, and we are racing. It is a good launch there from Gags, and also CX Sierra doing some fantastic stuff here. Tukey also getting a good launch as well, so a lot of drivers getting some very good launches throughout this field. And oh, we have a car way off track there. I believe that's a Mercedes of Barry.
Yeah, it was Tukey in the background in the Williams, and originally he was fighting for third, and he dropped all the way down to 9th place. So already some crazy things happening.
Oh, there's an Alpine spun around in the back. N-Guy is going to go ahead and not have a great time here to kick things off. He has already spun around. So that is not super good here for the Alpine. Bit of a rough start to the Alpine drivers' day here in the sprint, but these drivers who were pretty much at the bottom of the standings coming into today have actually all gotten really good launches. Sierra, Gags, H-Town, Ty, Low Pro, all of them actually had some relatively good launches here.
Yeah, I think the driver to look right now, look at Reigns and Umbreon, the Aston Martin duo. They also started all the way at the back, and they're already within the top 10. You can see that they absolutely got the best jump that they possibly could have gotten, and you can see how far they up. I think the semi-concerning thing, look at the Ferraris. They both started in the back, and they've still yet to get out of the back. They really haven't had much luck getting out of the back, so you can see already things starting to develop here in the sprint race.
Yeah, the biggest movers so far in this race were H-Town and Ty. Well, actually, Barry is actually the driver who's moved up the most positions. He moved up 6 positions, and now he's looking to make it 7. He's trying to chase down the Aston Martin of GM Reigns. But Umbreon, I think, in terms of like the championship leaders, essentially, or the drivers pretty high up the standings, I think Umbreon was the driver who managed the best in this sprint race. He's up 7 positions now, up into P6, as we see a battle for the podium spots here. I mean, there's action going all over this field. You can't really figure out who to keep your eyes on. Tai does get past H-Town. Low Pro thinking for a move, but once again, like we discussed earlier, that this is really not a strong track for trying to get some overly risky overtakes done. I mean, if you want a timing track for that, that's what Monza's for.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, hey, they're in the same country, so I mean, maybe they thought, oh, we're in Italy, maybe we can try it. But I want to say also, you're talking about Umbreon moving up 7 positions. You got Barry as well in the Mercedes in P9 up 7 positions as well. So you can see that some of these drivers having just absolutely great starts, as we're already into lap 3 out of 11, and yeah, this has been a crazy sprint race.
I mean, that is just how the sprint races are pretty much. There's always some kind of shenanigans going on with the sprint races, and it doesn't matter if it's OC, NA, or any other region. There's just going to be chaos in the sprint races. Even in the real life Formula 1, there can be chaos in a lot of the sprints. I think the only sprints in this current actual IRL F1 season that has not actually had a lot of chaos was, I'd say, Belgium. But I think Belgium, in typical, I think had weather shenanigans, so I think that kind of really threw a lot of things off. But one thing that has not been thrown off is the fact that these drivers, these top 3 have really just kind of held their ground. TyTy's up 5 positions, Umbreon is up 8, Barry is up 7. So a lot of these drivers have moved up several positions here, and we're about a third of the way through the sprint race already.
And a great job. I'm currently looking at the top 3, and look at TyTy, and we got a spin! The leader spin! Oh no!
From hero to zero, just like that, Umbreon is now up 10 positions in the sprint race.
Oh, but what a great job. Oh my goodness. I don't know how in the world he did this, but somehow Zero, despite getting spun out by TyTy, Zero is still in P2. I don't know how in the world he did that, but I was spectating and he somehow kept P2.
Be a beautiful job there from the Racing Bull driver. I mean, the Racing Bulls definitely got their horns out today. He is firing on all cylinders, trying to win at what is effectively Racing Bull's home race of Imola, because their factory isn't too far away from this circuit. But I mean, you gotta wonder how long it's gonna take before Umbreon does catch up, as we're seeing a few penalties fly out. H-Town being the latest driver to get one. Lopro got one earlier, and John also got one, and down in P16. He's having a really rough race, 32 seconds away from end guy. But look at this, a driver who's not having a rough race at all is Umbreon. He's up into P2. He's looking to make a name for himself here. He is flying through this field.
Make it 11 gained positions, as already he went flying past Cero, and he's already just about a second away from Gags. It looks like Umbreon is just determined to win this race.
I mean, he's within DRS range now. There's an incident in the back. Barry's had a moment there. He got spun around. He's missing his entire front wing. He's going to come back right near the Ferrari. He's going to get forced off the track even more. I think that was a bit of a risky rejoin there for Barry. Surprisingly, he's still up 2 positions from where he was, but Wildcat somehow got away with that with little to no damage. But, I mean, this has been a chaotic sprint race here in Imola. I mean, what a race this is. And here's the thing. This is only a sprint. We still have like a 32-lap feature race to come after this. So, I mean, you pretty much get double the action.
Yeah, double the action indeed. And I am actually curious if how they're going to do the grid placement, as, wait, Umbreon is going to go around the outside and try to take the lead, and he does! Make it plus 12 for Umbreon, and Umbreon has the lead now.
Umbreon, what a job. He detected that there was a possibility that he could win this race, and he ran with it, but there's a 3-second time penalty. That's going to put a spanner into the works. I mean, as long as Gag stays within 3 seconds of Umbreon, all the hard work that the Aston Martin put into getting this lead, this massive plus 12, it's all for nothing now, unless he can break away from that, from like the 3-second gap.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible. He's almost a second. Yeah, he's 1.2 seconds ahead of Gags already. So he's already out of DRS range. I think the question is going to be, can Gags either stay close enough to Umbreon, or is Tukey going to overtake Gags? You talk about Tukey, who had that incident on lap 1, has fought all the way back up into P3. Just the story of redemption here in Imola. These drivers who had issues on lap 1 have fought all the way to the front.
Indeed, and Tukey is going to go and try to send it through. He's got the DRS, he's got the speed. He may be missing an end plate, but he's not missing any courage as he goes in and takes in the P2. Another caution as Barry FC is having a very rough race indeed. Yeah, his race pretty much just got jammed up right there. He is out. He is the sole retirement of the sprint race to this point. Hopefully he's the only one in general. Ideally, nobody DNFs, but unfortunately we cannot change the past. But let's see. Umbreon is actually not pulling away from Tukey. Tukey is using a good amount of that battery though, so I mean it's not super unsurprising, but I mean this is going to be close. I just don't know if Umbreon can pull away that much. Now Tukey is within DRS range, so he's got a chance to win this on track.
Yeah, he does have a chance. Yeah.
Gonna actually just pull a gap to leader. So actually, theoretically, Umbreon would only drop to third, so he'd still be in podium contention if this were to end right now.
That is true. I think the only thing that Umbreon can really hope for is to either pull away or for Tukey to get a for Tukey or Ty to get a penalty, because you can see how much the 3-second penalties have been being dished out because of track limits violation. So I guess that would be the one thing that Umbreon could possibly hope for. But other than that, I don't know. It's just going to come down to the very end to see. Yeah, and like as to prove my point, Cerro gets a 3-second penalty as well in P5. So it's going to be interesting to see how this will come down to the end.
Here's an interesting thing though too, is Tukey is on the hard tire. So Tukey has opted for these hard tires, and he's the only one on the field to opt in for these hard tires. Ryan Anderson is on the softs, but he did make a pit stop, I think, due to damage. And here's another crazy thing about Tukey's drive right now and how good he's doing. He's missing an end plate. He's missing that front left end plate on his car. So, I mean, the fact that he's even this close to the back of Umbreon with damage is pretty extraordinary, considering that Umbreon's car is pretty much just nice and tidy here as we start the process on the final 3 laps of the sprint race here in Imola.
Yeah, and actually you could see, I was kind of surprised. Is Tukey going to go for the move? I saw a little bit of a movement there, but not quite. And you can actually see, if you look now, you have the top 3 there all together. Look how close Tukey's getting. Tukey is just giving a slight nudge to Umbreon right there, and you can just see how separated the top 3 are now, as they're all within a 0.3 of each other, and then 4th place is 2.6 behind Tai. So you can see how much they've separated. So you talked about if Umbreon would finish like where they are right now, they would still get podium. Right now, that's it is. And wait, we have a kick Sauber off in sector 1. I believe that's H-Town.
Well, it was originally Ryan, and then H-Town went off, so Sauber's having a very rough start to this race. H-Town is retired, so he is out of the sprint. And we found out that in the Twitch chat that Barry had rear wing damage from the incident in turn 5. I think we saw that a bit earlier. So that is unfortunate. The nice thing about a sprint weekend, though, is that you get another shot and for more points. So hopefully these 2 drivers will come back stronger and they'll get a better result. But Tukey is going to send it. He took the position away. What a move from the Williams. And I think this kind of just sums up Williams even in OCE. Rough start, but man, they're making the recovery. They are fighting tooth and nail. But now, is Umbreon going to lose the position to Tai? Here is the question. I mean, after penalties, certainly. But I mean, is he going to be on track as well?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be very interesting. I think it's just going to be a fight between these three. And, oh, Tai just got a penalty. Tai just got a 3-second penalty now as well.
Ooh. So we're potentially looking at a double Williams podium here. Potential. Actually, no, wait. Low Pro's got penalty too. Never mind that. Sorry for accidentally getting Dito's hopes up with a double podium for Williams here. I mean, it's already DNF'd then maybe, but that's not very likely at this point. So actually now at this stage, Umbreon's not going to lose any positions. The only car he would lose a position to would be Tukey, but Tukey's ahead of him now and actually just about out of DRS range with that missing end plate. So that is spectacular stuff.
Yeah, great driving by Tukey. But I also do want to point out that surprisingly, Tukey was the only driver on track to go with the hards from the very start of the race. Everyone else went medium. It says that Ryan in the kick Sauber has softs, but that is because he pit for a new front wing. But everyone else went the mediums. Tukey is the only one who went on the hards. So it's very interesting to see how that's... Oh, and I had a moment. Oh, that was close.
Very close indeed. I think both drivers, actually I think both drivers had moments here. But I mean, Tukey, he came today to race hard, to get positions, to get points. He did a fantastic job. I mean, he started in P3, so he was already pretty low down the starting order. But all that aside, he's put on a spectacular race here just to kick things off. This is really going to put momentum into his pocket going into the feature race. He's only got 2 more corners left to go now. He's going to go ahead and going through Ravaza, and now it is flat out to the finish line.
Moment.
McLaren spins in the back right as Tukey wins the Imola sprint race, and it is going to be a double Williams podium. There you go, Dito.
And the Racing Bull beat him. The Racing Bull beat him. But wait, now the McLaren had no penalty. So now it's the McLaren up into 3rd.
What a turn of events. Umbreon made up 11 positions to a podium, and the Realm made up 12 positions to podium. So, sorry, Dito, got your hopes up again. But, man, what a race that was. The craziest thing about that is there's still a feature race to come after that. So, even after all the chaos we just endured and all the cinema we just witnessed in a little 11-lap sprint race, there's a feature to come after this, and that is 32 laps of action here, almost 3 times the amount of laps.
That might be one of the craziest sprint races that I have personally witnessed so far, but just absolutely fantastic drive by Tukey, and especially to have that incident lap 1 and losing the end plate on the front wing and still coming out on top. Just an absolutely great drive, and a great drive from Umbreon and for the McLaren as well, that they both gained 11 and 12 positions to grab the podium. Just unbelievable.
I mean, we weren't even talking about Realm as even being within the realm of possibility for getting a podium, but sure enough, here he is. So running through our grid very, very quickly as our sprint results, it is Tukey to Umbreon to Realm to Low Pro to Sierra, Tai, Gax, Marakidon, GM Reigns, Ryan Anderson, N-Guy, Barry, Wildcat, John, H-Town, and Barry FC, with the latter 2 being our only retirements of the sprint race. I almost said Grand Prix, but not quite a Grand Prix. That's coming up.
So now I am kind of curious that how is the qualifying going to work for the race? Do you know possibly how it is going to work? Is it going to be reverse order of the sprint?
I really don't know, because normally there would be a qualifying after this, but we're jumping straight into the race. I think it might be. I'm thinking it's going to be the exact same grid that we started with for the sprint, or it might be sprint results. So I guess we'll see, depending on who's at the front. I know it's not like the F2 format where like the top half is flipped, as cool as that would be. Maybe it is. I don't know, actually. That'll be a really interesting thing. This is the first time that we've actually seen this, and Actually, to be perfectly transparent, we actually were not even fully aware of the fact that the sprint race was actually going to be with no quali before we actually got in here today. We just kind of found that out today. Although I believe it was posted somewhere, but the Americans don't read stuff, so we didn't actually see it in time. But all jokes aside, I'm actually really curious to see how this one's going to play out. I really hope that H-Town and Barry have better races because, I mean, I think they had – I mean, Barry had some really good potential to start, but unfortunately, that rear wing damage. I mean, if you get rear wing damage, then it's basically just a death sentence for your race. I mean, unlike the front wing damage, you can't really fix the rear wing, so you're just kind of stuck. And, I mean, you're better off just kind of retiring from the race. As for H-Town, I mean, he'll get another shot. He started from P3. Or I think P3 or P4, I think. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and get back racing here. And I believe it is the exact same grid that we started off with. And we're about to go racing here in Imola. And it's lights out and away we go. Making our way down into Variante. Actually, not quite Variante. Oh, a little bit of squirreliness as Red Bull's off into the grass. So this is, oh, look at this. It's all kicking off here. It's all going haywire. And things are happening.
Oh, we have Ciro. Ciro's off. And Ciro's out of the race.
Oh, no, that is unfortunate. And once again, the driver who made up so many positions was off into the grass a bit earlier, so.
And look who's in the
Wow.
lead. Look who's in the lead and the top two. Both Ferraris not having a great sprint race, but all of a sudden, already Meraki Dawn is 2.4 seconds ahead of his teammate in second place. Oh my word.
He's also moved up 5 positions, so I think it is actually, I think they actually did pull Formula 2 and just took the top half of the grid and flipped it. And what's going on here? I think it was the Astons, I think, getting into it a bit. I'm not too sure, but the yellow flag was quickly cleared up as lap 1 already starting off with a bang as Marakadon already 3 seconds ahead in P1. Trevor Wildcat swapping positions around, and they are going to be close going down into Variante Tamburello. Going through the chicane. It's a very tricky chicane. You can get a move done in that chicane, but it's not likely going to work out for you as the surprise podium man popping out from a realm that was not seen before, trying to get into the podium spots yet again. But he is missing that front end plate as someone who we thought was going to win the sprint race already has a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, so already, well, I mean, you can see that the penalties have, I guess, followed us from the sprint race into the normal race. I'm just still in shock that now Meraki Dawn is 4 seconds ahead of Trevor in second place. Like, I don't know if we've seen this so far this season. I don't think we've seen a driver be this dominant straight out of the gate. And now, wait, there's a moment. Wait, I think the McLaren went off.
That wouldn't surprise me a whole lot considering one of them had damage. It's Realm. Realm actually had quite a bit of damage. Tuki's got damage already as well. The winner of the sprint race, who put on a fantastic drive on the hard tires, has suffered a little bit of front. Actually, it looks like a lot of cars here in this backfield of damage. I'm just going to look through. Yeah, the McLaren of Realm's got damage. GM Range has got damage. Tuki's got damage. Don't know who else. I know those three do. So P12 through P14 have damage. Yeah, then that might be it out of that immediate backfield scuffle.
Yeah, and actually, we just got information from the Twitch chat. Sierra actually says that his wheel just disconnected, and then the game disconnected as well. So that is the reasoning before the reasoning for the race's first DNF. And we actually got 2 people saying that the game either glitched or something happened, and the game actually gave Tuki used hards for the sprint. So I guess an interesting little tidbit there that still Tuki won the sprint race on used hards. How about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, because at least looking at my information here, it says that Tuki's laps are only 2 laps old, which is about the amount of racing laps that they have done so far, soon to be 3 laps. So That must have definitely been during the sprint, because unless it's just EA doing EA things, which I honestly would not be surprised with at this point, because EA somehow managed to ruin. Oh, and Wildcat is out! Wildcat is out, and a safety car is out with it too. The Ferrari, the prancing horse, broke a leg and cannot prance anymore in this race.
Oh yeah, you could see it was on the front stretch. I wasn't able to catch it. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but I'm wondering, judging by the damage, I wonder if he got forced off the track there. And now it's going to be a safety car. It's going to be a safety car as well now deployed. And that is going to bring the whole grid together. That's probably what Meraki's Don's like worst situation would be, as he was 6 seconds ahead of second place, but now he's gonna have to try and do it all over again and get a great start again.
We'll see how it goes. And apparently it is actually in the feature race that Tukey is given the sprint race hard tires, which I'm just gonna chalk that up to EA doing EA things. On my end, it shows that he's still on like relatively fresh tires, only 3 laps old, which he did the entire sprint race on those hard tires. So I mean, it would be like 14 laps old at this point, which the hard tires can go the distance, but when you're going to start of the race, you really do not want soft tires, or like, well, soft tires would be ideal, but you really don't want tires that have already been through quite a few laps and that have already been through a hectic sprint race. We're seeing a lot of drivers actually come on into the pit, so I wonder if some of these drivers, well, I know I'm gonna get them out of amount of damage, so I'm sure there's gonna be quite a few repairs going on here. But I wonder if other drivers are just gonna throw on a different set of tires and just try to make it to the end. I mean, if you're on the hards, then you could probably get to the end of that compound, but we'll see. But Tukey's got to make another stop, because he started on the hard tires and then he's got to go back he's got to go onto medium, so it's going to be a 2-stop for Tukey, which is not ideal.
Yeah, something that is actually kind of interesting is that you saw that whole line of cars that did go into the pits and switched. The only driver that didn't switch compounds was Meraki Dawn. He went from the mediums he started on the race to a new set of mediums. So he's the only driver who did not switch to the hards. So maybe Meraki Dawn is also planning on doing a 2-stop here at Imola. But you can see already the interesting choices between the drivers as to what they want to go on. Because you can see that there's a whole way. Well, something happened with Umbreon. Wait, yeah, something happened with Umbreon. Umbreon's off the track.
I wonder if he had a wheel disconnect too, maybe? I'm not sure, to be honest. I think he's trying to catch the safety car pack and maybe just pushed it a little too hard, gave it a bit too much gas maybe, and then just ended up kind of spinning it. Yeah, there might be a hardware issue on the side of Umbreon.
So yeah, interesting, because I was just watching and he just seemed to just go right off track. So yeah, it must be just another hardware issue there. Maybe like the wheel just disconnecting or something. But that is really strange. Seems like Imola not only really kind of crazy track, but it seems to also be messing with everyone's game and hardware.
I wish I could say that that is a freak incident, but I think that's just I feel like that is just the average EA server shenanigans kicking up again. Because I remember in Jeddah Div 6, season opener, 100% race, pretty much after a safety car, like, it just started giving everybody, like, some of the weirdest penalties, like, ignoring a yellow flag when there's no yellow flags on track, ignoring blue flags when those, well, they're behind a safety car. So I know sometimes under safety car conditions, EA does like to have a bit of a moment at times to put it in a way that isn't going to get us banned on Twitch, but it does like to have its temper tantrums. There we go. That's an appropriate thing to say. It does have its temper tantrums sometimes, but yeah, that just really sucks. I mean, I've seen a championship here at Rush Racing League decided on a hardware failure, so
Yeah, it's just sometimes, unfortunately, it just comes down to that because, I mean, at the end of the day, we are playing the game, so just sometimes, unfortunately, it comes down to the game, unfortunately, sometimes, and you hate to see it when stuff like that happens because it's through no fault, really, of the drivers, and it just ends up being the fault of the game, and it just kind of happens. I believe, yeah, we still have another lap here under safety car. The lights are still on. The entire grid is reformed, so more than likely the race will restart here the next lap. So going into lap 8 is when we will restart.
Indeed, and hopefully so, because I mean, it's been a very good race here at Imola, which is, I mean, I know we're talking about it. Imola isn't always the best track on the calendar, but I mean, today here in North America, it's been fantastic to watch. There's been action, there's been chaos, there's been beautiful moves, beautiful overtakes, and just insane drives. Just taking a look at the position changes here. Oh man, do we have some movers. Gags up 15 positions. H-Town up 13 positions. Barry up 13 positions. Granted, they haven't stopped yet. The top 6 have not stopped yet, but I mean, they're in a pretty decent spot. I mean, I didn't really see much of a reason to really pit at this stage of the race unless you got damage, or if you're in the case of Tokyo where you got a glitched set of used tires. I can understand swapping those out, but especially if you're on the medium, I actually, even just considering how strong the tire wear is in this game, I don't really think you could get to the end without really struggling on the medium or on the hard tires.
Yeah, it's a very interesting decision to hit that early, but so far as we went through the race, in the sprint race, it didn't look like they were losing that much traction on the medium. So maybe the people toward the front are just trying to get as much life as they can out of the mediums without sort of, I guess, in their mind, wasting a pair of hard tires. But I don't know. I guess just as the race will go on, we'll see, as the safety car has indeed come in.
Indeed, the safety car is in, and it's going to be Gags leading us to the line. He is on 6-lap old medium tire, same as the other 3 cars directly behind him. They are going to go when he goes, and we are back racing in Imola. A good launch there from Gags, but H-Town having a good launch too. A lot of cars having some fantastic launches here as we make our way down to Tamburello, going through the chicane. A good start there. Barry gets a penalty.
Oh, we have a Sauber
off. H-Town is off. H-Town's off the track once again. The Houston native just not having a great time here at Imola. He was saying that it wasn't one of his favorite tracks coming in, and we're seeing that here. It's been a rough day in the office for some of these drivers, trying to get that car corrected. But man, this has been a wild run here so far in Imola. Jumping back to the front of the field, Gags has already broken DRS range away from Barry. But Marakidon on those new set of mediums, he is going to have to pit again. He had a bit of a slide there too, I think. So,
I mean, he
just
is
outside of Minerale.
No one can ever say that Meraki Don doesn't drive 110% because he is just absolutely full sending it into every one of these turns. And he started originally in 8th when it came to the safety car, and he's already back into the top 3. So maybe he loves Imola and he loves the setup that he has, because he is just flying right now.
Yeah, Meraki Don is just on fire right now. That prancing horse is prancing at a very high speed, galloping through these cars, galloping through these positions, weaving through these cars. He's about to take another victim. He's about to squash the Barry as he's going to go to try to get the move done into...
Oh, wait, we got contact behind.
And it's a safety car again. It's the other Sauber of Ryan Anderson getting together with, I think, N-Guy. And that's safety car number 2 of the race.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened. N-Guy looks like he has no damage. At least visually, it doesn't look like he has any damage, so I'm not entirely sure what happened, but it resulted in Ryan Anderson retiring from the race. That's our second safety car so far. So now that's going to give the people who didn't pit a chance to pit now again.
Yeah, I'm thinking actually in this case, a lot of these drivers are probably going to opt in for that. Probably going to opt in for that pit stop just to see, I mean, if they can go for it. But yeah, interesting stuff. It's, I mean, okay, yeah. So we are seeing a lot of these drivers kind of filing into the pits now. So Marakidon is going to re-inherit the lead here. I mean, yeah, I don't even have any words really. This has just been such a chaotic start to Imola, and a severe collision for Tukey.
That is.
But he's in the pits.
And he put. And I wonder if something is. Wait, they're all putting on inters. That is something I just noticed, that 2 of the drivers have inters on. They must be planning on rain, or maybe if it is raining, I don't really see anything. Do you?
No, I don't see anything. What I want to know is how do you get a? I'm gonna check the race director to see if I read that correctly. How do you get a? I'm looking at this because this is actually baffling. Yeah, how do you get a 10-second penalty while you're both already in the pit box? How does that happen? That might have to be investigated. Because I don't see how you get a penalty in the pit box. Because IRL, I can see it, but in game, I just don't think that's possible. I mean, maybe it is, but I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm very actually interested because I thought only 2 drivers pit for inters. They must know something that we don't. We have 4 cars who pit for inters. So it is not just a 1-car decision. You see that for all the people who have 0 laps on their tires, out of all of them, 2 went for the hard compound. H-Town is currently on the softs. And then Reigns, Umbreon, Tukey, and Barrier Enters. Wait, now Meraki Dawn is going into the pits. Now we got even more people going into the pits, and they have Enters pulled out. So they must all be ready and expecting rain right now.
I'm assuming so. That's what I'm assuming is happening here. So, I mean, that would definitely make an already exciting Imola race even more exciting and more dramatic. Is throwing in the rain here.
Oh, I
so
see it.
We'll see.
We got,
Yep,
I got
see it
confirmation. Yeah, confirmation that it has started raining. So now that actually is going to really be detrimental for people who didn't pit. So now if you're not on the inters, that's actually going to hurt you now more than ever. And I don't know. Me and you both commentated for the preseason race in Canada. That was chaotic. This might be more chaotic. This might be up there in the ranking of the most chaotic races.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this might be like, I mean, granted, there's quite a few races I missed when it comes to the races over, like in Division 3, Division 5, 1, 2, the divisions I don't actively commentate in. But out of all the races I've commentated across all the OCE divisions and here in NA, I think this is probably the most chaotic race I have seen so far here at Rush Racing League in Season 9. Well, I guess it's Season 4, I think, for NA, but
5.
so just in F1 25, this is the most chaotic race I've ever seen.
Yeah, this is, I personally have never seen this before. And you can see some of the people. So surprisingly, Trevor did not pit. And and the Alpine did not pit either. And I believe that he is on, yeah, he's on 11 lap old tires. And H-Town retires.
Yeah, that one was a retirement in the pits. He got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane and then just decided to call it quits there. So, interesting stuff going on here. I mean, you have still five drivers still on the hard compound, still trying to stick it out. Still trying to go ahead and just stick out this weather. But I just do not think that's going to be the right call. Because, I mean, even if you're going to be the brave soul to try to run slicks on a wet surface, you'd need the soft tires because those tires give you the most grip. You would not try to do this on the hard. So I'm really curious on what the play is going to be for the 5 drivers who are still on. Actually, Meraki went into the pits and went onto the hard tires. So, I mean, this is either the most Ferrari strategy I have ever seen, aside from what's at Jeddah in the dry, that we saw in, I think it was Div 4 or Div 6. I think it was Div 4, actually, in Jeddah for OCE. Or this might be just a Giga Brain strat, because actually, oh, there's an Alpine already off the road. Umbreon, or not Umbreon, Barry was just off the track there for a moment.
This has been... No, I think the only saving grace that I think Meraki Dawn is counting on and like Gags, they must think that the rain is not going to last. They must think that it might be a drizzle like what this is for maybe a lap or two more, and then it will go back to dry. So they must think that, or they must think that the rain's not lasting.
Very possible as we get back to racing here in Imola for the feature race here. So Trevor does get a very good launch there. We'll see how his car handles through Tamarello. Good job, actually. So maybe these guys just stayed out. Might be on to something today. Might be cooking a bit here as Gags jumps up. They're trying to fight it out going into the Villeneuve chicane as they make their way towards Tosa. Are they going to go ahead and are we going to see any more moves? Now, here's the thing is, I'm not really seeing that the inters are quicker as Tukey has lost both of his end plates, so now his rear wing has no end plates and there's contact and a few cars going wide. End guy, one of the drivers who stayed out on the hard tires having a bit of a slide, and honestly, I thought the big spin, contact and the spin from Meraki Dawn and end guy. End guy getting turned around, but he stays in for now. And yeah, I don't know which tire's better, honestly. I think they're about neck and neck.
Yeah, it might just be like the crossover period, but this is just such a strange thing to watch just because, like, we're in the crossover period. We don't know which tire is, like, currently faster. I think it's just going to depend on the rain and just seeing how much it's going to rain or if it's going to get harder, because Trevor right now in first on the hards. Gags is in second on the hards as well. And then Barry is third, and everyone until P9 is on inters there. So I don't know. This is just going to be very interesting.
Although I'm seeing in chat that Trevor is running assists, all the assists, so that might help him out a little bit, but I don't know how much, like, as Gags, I don't think Gags is running any assists, to my knowledge. I could be 100% wrong here, but he's still handling pretty well, and it's not raining super hard, so I think we're just in this weird extended crossover period to where the hards are still good, but they're pretty much right even with the enters, and actually considering Gags' pace, I think the hards might still be the better pick here. I think a driver who might be a really good indicator of how these tires are would be Meraki. I think Meraki in that Ferrari would be a good indicator on how good those intermediates are compared to the hards.
Yeah, and I mean, he is still gaining positions right now. That he is still moving up the field, and you said he had that slight tussle with the Alpine, but it didn't look like he took any damage, and he's still trucking along right now in P9, and now it looks like, and I will say that is an interesting detail, DRS is still active right now. So the in-game stewards have not decided on shutting off the DRS quite yet.
Ooh, that's scary. It's a three-way battle here. A triple threat between Realm, Meraki, and GM Reigns. Car's getting a bit slidey, and I think now actually the Inters might start becoming the prevalent tire here. I think it's still, like, I'd put an asterisk by it. I would put a disclaimer to take with a grain of salt, but I think the Inters are now, even though by only a little, I think the Inters might now be the better tire.
Yeah, maybe by a little bit. I think it just entirely depends on how long the rain is going to be, because it doesn't seem like it's getting any harder. It doesn't look like it's coming down anymore. But if it rains like this the rest of the race, then yeah, it's going to be, Inters are going to be the best. It's just, I don't know. But I will say, if you see the Inters are now catching up to Gags and Trevor. So I think you might be right. I think Inters might be the tire of the grid right now.
Yeah, we'll see here. Going down the back straight here, crossing the start-finish line. The Williams gets into a position. He is up in a P2. Can he get the Trevor? Not quite. He gets super close, though. He's going to send it!
Ooh.
And he's going to bump him off right on the exit of Tamburello. And now, it's his rival from the sprint. It is Tai on the one-lap fresher intermediates, just singing his way through. I mean, there's no tie in between of who's better between the McLaren and the Williams. Tai into the lead and starting to pull a gap already.
There was a little bit of contact, a very scary moment between Gags and Umbreon. But yeah, it looks like Inters are now the best tire right now. But I'm kind of wondering if the stewards are going to look at that move by Tukey going into that starting chicane, or sorry, going out of the chicane and kind of bumping him off the track. I wouldn't be surprised if the stewards are going to look into that. But yeah, you can see now as you look in the grid, the people who have the Inters are now very handedly passing the ones who are on the slicks. So, I mean, I think you're right that it might just be an Inters race now.
But for how long is the question? How long is this going to go ahead and remain in Inters race? Because like you said, this rain is not getting any heavier. I mean, we can see the dry line being formed here, but it's not drastic. It's not like Miami, because I mean, if you remember, Miami also had a little bit of weather shenanigans related to it as well. And definitely not like Canada, because Canada was definitely a much heavier rain than this. But I mean, you got to give credit to where credit's due. Those hard tires lasted way longer than I thought. And then Meraki also did go ahead and jump onto the intermediate tire. So even now he knows that the hards are definitely not the strat. So Inters 100% the tire to be on right now. But the lingering question is, how long are those tires going to last? And here's a funny fact. Our top three in this race were the same top three that finished the sprint. Now, granted, it was a different McLaren who got the podium due to penalties, but penalties aside, this is the same finishing position, or the same top three that we had in the sprint, just with a few swapped around positions.
Yeah, but obviously we've gotten here with very different circumstances. That both of the sprint race and the main race, the feature race, have all had just their own challenges and craziness. And I don't know. I may have not have ever seen this many pit stops in a 50% race. As I mean, right now, if I go to look and see, right now the max stop is Meraki Don, who's stopped in the pits 4 times so far, and the next max is 2. And I don't know if I've ever seen someone stop that many times in the pits.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think I might have seen that at Monaco when we were doing the Monaco Grand Prix in OCE, but I'd have to dig up footage for that. But another thing worth noting is that the penalty system penalty situation is a lot different. Umbreon does have a 3-second penalty like it did previously, but Tukey's got 13 seconds of pens. So even if the Williams wins this race, unless it's like a dominant margin, kind of like what we saw in Miami with NYC, then I really just do not think that Tukey is going to be Aussie even within the same zip code as a podium.
Yeah, I don't know. You can see how dominant Ty has been in the inters right now, but I'm just more curious to see, like, right now the rain is still about the same, if I would say even lighter or somewhat lighter. So I'm just still wondering whether or how the weather is going to turn out, just because it's like Miami. In Miami, it was all about guessing when the rain was going to start because it was predicted to be heavy rain, and some of the drivers opted to pit at the very last second. Others tried to just get to the end. But here it might be the opposite, where it's a question of when is the rain going to stop, and see how quickly, if that happens, if the track dries up. So even despite the penalties, this still could be a very interesting going down to the wire finish.
Yeah, I'd agree, honestly, because, I mean, if the sprint race wasn't as chaotic, and if even this feature race didn't start off as chaotic as we have seen it here, I would have probably kind of begged to differ. But just considering how wild Imola has been here today, I would not be surprised to see some wild shenanigans. But Tai right now is doing a very good job, although it is worth noting that um, Umbreon cannot get past Tukey, and Tukey is definitely slowing down quite a bit because of the lack of end plates on that Williams, like we talked about a bit earlier. Actually, both Williams have a bit of a lack of end plates. GM Reigns gets a 3-second time penalty for his troubles for crossing pit lines, and I can tell you that's pretty much right at the Grassini chicane. I don't know why there's like 7 words trying to mix together at once, but yeah, the Grassini chicane. I mean, that's anytime I play this race in like career mode, if I were to get my lap time invalidated or like a track limit violation, it's at that turn 14 and 15 chicane, and that is just a chicane I just do not appreciate. And I feel like the track would be so much better if you could just go straight flat out all the way down to Rabasa.
Yeah, I feel you there. I was going to say, too, that Umbreon completes the pass and gets through past Tukey into P2. But I will say, I've been slowly noticing that even though the rain has not gotten heavier, the track is definitely getting more and more wet as it goes on. So I don't know, more than likely the inters will last or could last to the end, but I don't know. It's just a very interesting situation to see what happens. That if it rains all the way, Ty's got this race right now and with an 8-second gap, but if it stops raining, then you just don't really know what's going to happen. This is just a very interesting race.
And then, even if Ty did not have the 8-second gap, the cars behind him, like the 2 cars directly behind him, have 16 seconds of pens combined. So, I mean, he's really got a 16-second buffer. And then, actually, you could probably even venture to say, well, now it's going to be a bit different because we have Tukey coming on into the pits. But I was going to say he probably has even more to like an 18 to maybe 20-second gap just because of how far Lopro was behind both Tukey and Umbreon, just with all the pens applied and stuff like that. Actually, never mind. That is very incorrect math. It'd be still about like 2 seconds. 2 or 3 seconds, give or take. Actually, there's a much easier way that we could have did this. I could have just not even bothered with math. I could have just done gap to leader. It's a 12-second gap. So, it's been a long day. But yeah, so even then, Ty is about a 12-second gap, almost a 13-second gap to Low Pro just directly behind. Well, now it's even a bit of a more advantageous position considering that now Umbreon has a additional 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, we saw in the sprint race, the penalties kind of getting handed out left and right for track limits. It seems that Imola is just kind of one of those tracks where it's like track limits are as Tukey is going to get a track limits. It just seems like Imola is a really hard track to deal with the track limits, just because some of the places that you can barely maybe go off of it a little bit and they'll still get you for it. So you can see just the penalties are getting handed out left and right. But now I think the question is that I've been watching the leaderboard as the race has gone on. Meraki Dawn is making his way up. He was originally 12 seconds behind Reigns when he pit for Inters, and he just now passed Reigns into P6. So he is also slowly moving up. It seemed like he was the fastest car, like setup wise, in this track. And then the Inters and the rain and everything kind of threw that away. But he still has about 11 laps to go. So I'm interested to see how far he can climb.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, the prancing horse is definitely not as quick in the rain as it was in the dry, because I mean, Marakidon in the dry when we started this race was just on fire. He was just going through, making moves stick. But now in the wet, he's still making moves, but they're not as abundant as they were earlier on in the race. Now the Realm is going to go ahead and try to get past Low Pro here, trying to make it a double McLaren podium for the boys in Papaya. And I know we talked about the driver standings a bit earlier on, but we haven't really talked about the constructor standings. So I'll just go ahead and read them off real quick. This would be a result that McLaren desperately needs, because McLaren right now in the NA constructors, they have 5 points.
Ooh.
The only team they're ahead of is Williams, who have 0 points. So this is I mean, the sprint win was definitely something that Williams needed. But I mean, in terms of just like a double podium changing and basically turning around a team's results, it would definitely be McLaren, because McLaren, they need it almost as bad as Williams do. But even then, Williams are still going to come away with some pretty decent points. And now, because of Rush Racing's scoring system with points going down to the top 15, I mean, pretty much everybody here is going to get points as long as they come across that finish line.
Yeah, that is very true. I think there's something else you can look at, looking at the constructor standings right now. I mean, with Meraki Dawn in P5 right now, that is obviously a great amount of points both for him and for the team as for Ferrari. I think right now, not only McLaren is in a great spot, being 1 and 3 now, but look at Aston Martin as well, as Aston Martin is P2 and P6. That is really good for the team in Aston Martin, as they did really good in Miami as well, as they're tied with the Racing Bulls for second place in the constructor standing. So you can see that not only are the drivers fighting for all of the points and positioning, but even for the team standings, it's still very, very close. And as the season goes on, it's going to be really interesting to see how it all kind of turns out with all these different finishing times and finishing places.
I think, but an interesting thing about knowing that too is Ferrari is on the top of the constructor standings, ahead of Racing Bulls and ahead of Aston Martin, but by a singular point. So with the constructor standings right now, Ferrari has 28 points, and then Racing Bulls and Aston both have 27. And so here's what really tips this in Aston Martin's favor, in my opinion, right? Umbreon is already, I mean, he's already 6 seconds ahead of the Realm, so he's already not even going to drop a position due to penalties. So even that, in that metric alone, he's going to score ahead of Meraki Dawn. So that's going to give him enough points to jump ahead of Ferrari here. Umbreon also got a podium in the sprint, which is going to give him a good amount of points. And then we also got to look at another factor too as well. Considering Aston Martin's main rivals right now in North America for the championship, Racing Bulls had one driver, and he was out very early on. He was out lap 1. And then you look at Ferrari, Wildcat got knocked out pretty early too. So it is both Aston Martins scoring pretty high up, ahead of the sole Ferrari and the sole Racing Bull. And the sole Racing Bull is scoring 0 points. So if this race finishes the way it is now, Aston Martin are going to take the lead in the constructors by the end of today.
Yeah, that is very true. And I mean, Umbreon had penalty issues, I believe, as well in Miami. You can mark my words. I do think Umbreon is going to get a win this season. Just because, like you saw in the sprint race, and you saw like flashes of it in Miami and here, he's got the pace. Like, he's got the pure, like, pace to keep up and be the leader. It just seems that there's a couple different incidents that kind of derail the race in terms of whether it's the penalties or if it's an incident, or it seems that the safety cars have really kind of messed with him, as he doesn't really get as great of a head start during the safety cars. But yeah, you can still mark my words. I do think that Umbreon is going to win one of these races, but I'm sure that the Aston Martin team and him will definitely still take a P2 finish.
Yeah, indeed. Another thing just kind of worth noting too is I'm just looking at the calendar for NA. I mean, it's going to be a tricky time for these drivers, and I think it's the issue is that with Umbreon, he's just got the raw pace, but not quite the finesse to truly harness that pace just yet. And I agree. I think just given enough time, I think he will mold into a very serious championship contender here in NA. But next week, I mean, it's Monaco next week. So that is going to be a track that's really not going to play well. But, granted, OCE, but Aston Martin has done historically pretty decent at Monaco here in Rush. But NA versus OCE doesn't always correlate.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, Monaco is just a tough track in general. And I mean, we've seen some of the things that tend to happen at Monaco. That seeing one of the clips that you sent me showing an Alpine on its side and almost flipping going through Monaco, which you would think is hard to do, but nothing is too hard for the Rush Racing League drivers. So we saw the crazy things happen in Monaco with OCE, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see similar stuff happen with North America. I mean, look at this race.
True, and I'm actually on board now with a really good battle between Trevor and Reigns, as there's a yellow flag. Oh, it's the other Red Bull of John, just getting kind of beached in the chicane temporarily. He's back going now, so that yellow flag was resolved very, very quickly. But I wonder if that kind of messed up Trevor's attempts. He's still going to get the position just based off of penalties anyway. So, but I mean, as a racing driver, you want this done on track. You do not want it done in the penalty or through penalties. And here we go. He's going to go in and fire it around the outside. Not even with the assistance of DRS, because DRS I think was actually disabled a while ago. So he's going to go to take the position, just going into Tamburello. But yeah, actually, you know what we need to start thinking about, GameHawk, because it is getting around that time. It's time for us to kind of talk about driver of the day here pretty soon.
Yeah, that's very true. And well, just before that, we might have another movement right now, as Meraki Dawn has finally caught up to Low Pro, and now they're just about heading down toward the two left-handers here. I'm still learning. I'm a new F1 fan, so I'm still learning, and I'm thankful to have Rekus. But yeah, right now Meraki Dawn is just about to pass. But I think driver of the day, it might have to go to Ty, honestly, just for the pure raw pace that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's had some excellent pace too. I mean, there's quite a few contenders, honestly, for driver of the day. I mean, I think overall Ty has probably been the most consistent, because I mean, in the sprint race, I mean, you had to give it to Umbreon from the sprint race, and I mean, I might still even consider. Now, typically, I try to avoid drivers who have gotten penalties, but if we just talk about Umbreon for a quick second in terms of like why I think he is a very solid candidate for driver of the day, I mean, he moved up 12 positions in the sprint race and kept it despite penalties. In this race, he is up 8 positions, and he might lose 1 due to a penalty. Other than that, I mean, Umbreon isn't, aside from the penalties, Umbreon has really been probably one of the most impressive drivers in this race today.
Yeah, I would agree there. And actually, kind of ironic that you just mentioned that, but right now, Umbreon is just about 6 seconds ahead of Realm. So if he's able to keep that 6-second gap, he might still end up in P2s. There's an Alpine off. One of the Alpines went off in front of the in front of 3 and 4, and that was a bit of a scary moment there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the lapped Alpine of N guy there. But I think also another driver that we could probably consider as well is Don. Just considering, I mean, he had a rocket ship start. He is pretty much knocking on the door of a podium despite having 4 pit stops. So I think in general, he's also a pretty solid contender. I mean, Tukey was really solid in the sprint, but in the feature race, kind of a rough time in the feature. But the crazy thing is that this race has gone by so fast, and there's always just been so much stuff happening. We're about at 3.5 laps left to go in this race.
That is actually, yeah, that is actually kind of crazy, because in Miami, it was more about just all the drivers trying to stay consistent, and it came down to more when were they going to stop. In this, it feels like it's just been put the tires on and go for raw pace just as fast as you can. And it feels like that's just made this race go by so much quicker. And I will mention too, that I think that Don has a great chance of winning the driver of the day if he is able to grab podium, in which he is only 1.3 behind Realm now. So I think that would make him a great candidate if he's able to get on the podium.
Agreed. Actually, you know what we could do is, if you have the permissions to do a Game Hawk, would you actually want to throw a vote in the chat on who should get driver of the day between, I'm going to say Ty, Umbreon, and Meraki? Would that be fair? If that's something you can actually do?
Yes, I can do that.
We'll go ahead and let the fans get a vote, because, I mean, honestly, we are pretty conflicted up here in the commentary box, so we do have interviews, I believe, happening just after this race. We'll get our top 3 in this race, as well as our sprint winner. So we'll get Tukey in the commentary box as well. And then we'll grab, if it finishes like this, then we'll grab Ty, Detect, and Realm. But I think Maragadon's probably pretty close to chasing that. So we're going to go ahead. I mean, while he is talking or setting up the vote, I'm going to go ahead and just mention how this battle is going. It is side by side between Meraki and the real M. And he's going to go ahead and get the move done, dusted, and delivered through Grassini. That is not a place you want to make an overtake here. What a dive. What a move. Meraki up in the 3rd.
And make that just a little bit more interesting, he locked up on the front right. Don's tire locked up on the front right as he tried to slow down, and he still pulled off the move there. That was fantastic to see.
It is always a good time whenever you see that there's hard racing at play here. Now Don has a chance to even get up to 2nd if he can close that gap to about 5.9 seconds or less. If he is under 6 seconds, then he can get a P2 here. Looks like it's so far, but is Realm going to make things difficult, or is this Ghosted Alpine going to make things kind of difficult? He gets out of the way, just pulls off and says, all right, this is not my battle, which is good racecraft. He's going to go ahead and let him off and let him through. But man, oh man, this is getting very fun, very quick. But I mean, the gap is closing between Ty and Umbreon, but just not by enough, I don't think. Yeah, it's only about like a few tenths of a second per lap. Apparently Ty's close to getting a puncture. So that could be spicy if that's the case.
Yeah, I was just reading that in the chat. So unfortunately, I figured out that you cannot do a poll quite yet on the Twitch channel because we are not affiliated just yet. So in the meantime, if you guys are watching currently, go ahead and throw the name of the driver that you guys want to, or who you think should be driver of the day as we're here in the final lap. Just go ahead and drop the name of who you think should be driver of the day.
We see MJ has a vote. Meraki's got a vote.
Yeah, I think I would have to put my vote at Meraki. Just with everything that he went through in this race and still able to climb up into 3rd, I think that he deserves it.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn between himself and Umbreon, just because Umbreon pretty much he rocketed through the standings here. We're gonna stay on board with the current race leader. He got a podium in the sprint, and he's looking to make it a win in the feature, but he's apparently very close to a puncture. We'll see if we can do that, and we'll see if we get like the Silverstone 2020 with Lewis Hamilton, where he wins the race with 3 functioning tires and a puncture. We'll see if that's going to be the case here. I think he's got enough of a gap to where he could pull it off if he does get a puncture here. And Umbreon gets another 3-second penalty, so that's going to drop him out of the podium, I think. And he's coming around the last few corners now, going through Ravaza. Turn 18, turn 19, now on to turn 20, coming down the line. Tai wins the Imola Grand Prix. And what a race it was. Ever since the restart, it was in dominant fashion. What a drive from the McLaren.
Yeah, what a drive there from Tai being able to get the win here in Imola. And you can see the 60%. You were right. The penalty knocked Umbreon out. So it is a McLaren 1-3 and a Ferrari in second. So, yeah, you were right. The penalty knocked him out.
Indeed. I mean, what a drive. This was a hectic race, man. This was simply lovely to watch. I mean, beautiful driving. 84% tire wear on Tai, by the way, was, I mean, putting those intermediates at 84% is insane work right there. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and just do our celebration, and then we're going to have to go ahead and get some drivers in here for interviews. So, if you guys are indeed available, Tai, Meraki, the real MJ, and Tuki, if you 4 are available for interviews, come on into the comment box with myself and GameHawk, and we'll go ahead and chat with you for a few minutes before we go ahead and wrap up the stream. But, I mean, GameHawk, give us your thoughts on that race, man.
Hectic. I think by far the most hectic and crazy race that I have ever witnessed in a Formula One game so far, but absolutely amazing and a great pleasure to watch and experience this. Yeah, congratulations to the people on the podium and the sprint winner, Tuki. This was just an unbelievable Grand Prix.
Indeed, and to kind of sweeten the deal for Ferrari, I think that pretty much just seals it. Marakidon is going to get driver of the day as well. The in-game vote gave it to him. You gave him a vote, and Twitch chat gave him 2 votes. So I think that Marakidon is officially driver of the day, so he'll get an extra point for that. And now going ahead and talking about the race results here, as we go ahead and get those pulled up here pretty soon. Just waiting for it to appear via stream. All right, so it is Tai taking the win here. Marakidon getting P2 and the fastest lap. And then we have the real MJ, Detect Umbreon, Low Pro, Tuki, Barry, Gags, GM Range, Trevor, Barry, N-Guy, John, and then the DNFs of H-Town, Ryan Anderson, the Wildcat, and Sierra, rounding out our finishing positions on the day. I mean, whew, what a drive. I mean, that was a chaotic race, pretty much from start to finish in the feature and in the sprint.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And I mean, we could probably put that ahead of Canada, right, Rekus? I think we can confidently put that ahead of Canada for chaos.
All right, so we are gonna go ahead and talk with. Let's see. Who can we go in and chat with first? Because we have 3 people. We have MJ. I'm not sure exactly who Potato is, and then we have Tai.
That Potato is Marakidon.
Okay, that is Marakidon. All right, so we'll go to start with. Actually, we'll start with P3. We'll start with MJ. MJ, how are you feeling, man? Because that was a hectic race.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I'm just happy to be on podium. Happy to be here.
Indeed, you got a podium in both the sprint and the feature. So I mean, McLaren had only 5 points coming into this race. I mean, And I know your teammate got a double podium, including a win here. So, I mean, that is a massive points haul for McLaren here.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really just, kind of twist and turn with what was thrown at me. A little bit of safety cars in the actual race. Definitely spiced things up a little bit, but just, boxing early for the inters and kind of pushing them through to the end seemed to be the best strategy. So it worked out.
Speaking of the intermediate tires, how was managing those intermediates? Because, I mean, you put a ton of laps on those inters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was obviously with not much rain coming down after the safety car restart. It was not the easiest. Whoever, there were a couple individuals, a couple drivers out there that were on hard tires. So let them pass at the time because they were going to be quicker. So just falling back a little bit, waiting my time, letting the rain pick up. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't fun at the restart either, managing those.
All right, so I'm going to ask you one more question before we pass you over to GameHawk. Next week is Monaco. So how are you feeling heading into Monaco next week?
Oh, mandatory 2 pit stop race definitely spices things up. Not my favorite track personally, but as a reserve driver, if I am able to help out next week, I'm happy to jump in if needed.
I actually don't think Rush actually enforces the two or double mandatory pit stops, so I think you can get away with a one stop. But
even better.
Yeah, I mean Monaco. I mean it was part of the OC division already as its week 2 race, so I mean it can be pretty chaotic. But yeah, congratulations on 2 back-to-back podiums in the sprint in the feature, and I'm gonna pass you over to GameHawk.
All right, awesome.
So I don't have as many questions lined up as Rekus, but so I guess my first question, or my question that I'm going to be asking the perspective of all the other drivers. So in both the sprint and in the race, it was a very, very chaotic start because of how the qualifying ended up, or sorry, the lack of a qualifying, I should say. But how did that come down to, on your level, from your perspective? How was that having to weave through the traffic and try to just sort out that chaos at the start?
Yeah, so it kind of goes the same mentality I had at the the safety car restart when we were on inters. Let the faster guys that or the guys that are a little more aggressive, maybe just want to get through, let them get through, stay back, manage. I did start on the hard tire compound, so I knew right off the bat that I was not going to be as competitive into cornering. So it really was just, I know what I can do to race. I know my pace. Just keep it calm. Fast as, or slow as smooth, smooth as fast. That whole thing. Just not overdriving the car either. And just keeping it calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah, awesome. And I mean, it really seemed to pay off for you, as both in the sprint race and in the feature race, getting absolutely great results. And is there anything more from you, Rekus?
No, just good luck next week if you're around.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say appreciate you guys and Governor and Wildcat for letting me race. Thank y'all.
Of course, glad to have you.
Thanks.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let you start off the interviews with Meraki Dawn. GameHawk, over to you.
Alrighty, Meraki Dawn, can you hear me? Or Potato?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, so starting first in the sprint race, starting in the back, as we said before, starting in the sprint race, the chaos of flipping the field and putting, especially you finishing in second in Miami, put you all the way in the back. How was that kind of figuring out, like, okay, how far can I push being so far in the back?
I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, at first I was a bit, like, kind of irritated because it wasn't, like, clicking to me, because it's like, what do you mean it's doing reverse grid, like, because it's already hard enough to pass in this game. Sitting behind one another is already hard enough. And then I was just kind of like, I'm just gonna send it everywhere I can, because I'm starting in the back. You can't really pass on this track, and so I'm just kind of like, I'm just gonna see what I can do. And then started from the back. Lap 1, I got my wing clipped by an Alpine. He like went off and he came back and I slammed into the back of him. So I lost half my left end plate. And so I was on red wing and I was just cruising and I was making up places. I was still gaining time, which I found really surprising. I was getting like half a second a lap to the people in front of me and I was like, maybe I can salvage this. Like I was just gonna retire and start from the back for the main race. Like that's how irritated I was. But I was calm and collected and I just did what I needed to do. Finished P8. And then going into the race, I was just like, it's gonna rain. I don't know when, but I'm just gonna do what I can do. And I think lap 1, I made it up to P1. I think it was lap 1. I don't know. But yeah, I was just, everybody got a really bad start, and so then I just like made up as many places I can. Got a damaged front wing again, because Tai something happened with him, and then he had to slow down. So I pretty much hit him.
So I will say, so I guess one question leading into that then was talking, and I don't know what other questions Rekus will ask you, but I guess the one question is that you started the race really well going into the feature race. You are 7 seconds ahead, and a safety car comes out, and just kind of all the energy you had there kind of like deflated, and you even then had to go through the chaos of pitting 4 times, which that's the most that I've ever seen in one of these Rush Racing leagues so far. So how did you kind of keep yourself calm even through the safety cars and the needing to pit for rain tires, and like how did you keep your composure as you went through?
Okay, so for the first pit stop, the safety car came out, I was like, oh, rain's gonna come in like 15, maybe 20 minutes. So I was like, oh, I can just pit for a new set of tires because everybody around me will stay on their tires and I can build more of a gap. But it was like, the safety car kept going and going, and so it just never really, not really like fully done its thing. So I'm just like, okay. And then my engineer, he's telling me like, oh, rain will be forecast any minute now, but he said light rain. So I'm like, so it's not inters. And then so that's why I pitted for hards. So it's like, oh, if it's light rain, I can just make it work. And I was faster. I was faster by a good amount after the restart, but then the rain hit was just coming and coming. I was like, this isn't gonna work. And then so I pitted for the inters, and I'm not gonna say my pace disappeared because I was lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than Tai. So it was just, I was in the far back having to pass through a lot of people.
Yeah, it would have been very interesting to see a Tai Meraki Dawn battle at the very end, but I do understand that. Rekus, do you have any questions for Meraki Dawn?
I have about 3 questions roughly, so I'll go ahead and get through them. So overall, how did you find tire management here in this race?
Being honest, I wasn't managing my tires at all. They were just lasting. All my setups are designed. Just, you can just do what you want with the car and it'll live with it. GameHawk would know. But that's literally how it's designed. Like I'm gonna say, like the first like few stints I did, I was just banging out lap after lap trying to build a gap, and then I was just idle doing a certain lap time. Like again, GameHawk would know. He watches me play all the time, most of the time, and it's just like I'll do my fastest lap and then I'll stay within a second or half a second of that lap. So that's why it's kind of like, it doesn't seem like I'm going any faster or any slower, just because I'm doing the same thing at lap after lap. And then when the inters came around, it was just like, I just need to push as hard as I can because it's going to get wetter and wetter. So like at the start of the rain period, it was like, be cautious but push. You got to find the limit. And then it got wetter and wetter, so you're able to push more and more.
Consistency is what wins races, and it's what wins championships as well. So, and speaking of just things that were a bit interesting to say the least, how did you find the sprint format for today?
I was irritated. I was so irritated because it's just like, the only reason why I was irritated is because I know it's Tai. Like, it's gonna be me and Tai and whoever else can really keep up like that. that are gonna be going like head to head, and I know it's just gonna be me and him this entire season mostly. And then it's just like I'm starting from the back while he's starting like what, P7. That's better than starting last. And especially since he basically didn't even finish the last race, so I was just kind of like, that's not very fair. But then I was just like, I just need to do what I need to do. I didn't really like the format. I feel like qualifying is just better, but it's kind of whatever.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't think we really even were super aware of the format till earlier today. But last question I'm going to ask you before we go ahead and let you go is, it is Monaco next week, and it is business as usual. So regular qualifying, regular race. How do you feel going around the Principality?
All I'm going to say is me and Ty won too. And I know I'm going to be number one.
Love the confidence I see. So, all right, well, once again, congratulations on P2 and driving today. So you get a little extra point to take home with it, and actually fastest lap too. So you get a few extra points to take back home with you, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right, last but most certainly not least, Ty, how are you feeling, man? Because you had a very good week here.
I feel pretty good. The sprint wasn't the best. I was going for a pass on, I think, P1, and then I just got hit on my rear and just went straight on turn 1.
Yeah, it's been unfortunate, but I think you also came away with 2 podiums. You got a podium in the sprint and a podium in the... Oh, no, you didn't quite get a podium. No, you had penalties, I think, so you did get dropped out of a podium for the sprint, I think. Anyways, you still had a pretty strong weekend here. Very good weekend for McLaren as a whole, but overall, I know the sprint format,
Yeah.
it wasn't everybody's favorite, but overall, how did you find the racing here?
Racing wasn't the best overall, but I think I could have done much better. I feel like I should have boxed as early as I did for the inters, but it all worked out at the end. My tire wear was 85% at the end of the race, so just had to really slow down a lot.
Indeed. Last question I have before I pass you over to GameHawk. It is Monaco next week, and are you agreeing with Meraki's prediction that it is going to be you and him in P1 and P2?
I don't know. Like, one mistake and then the race is over, so anyone can win Monaco, I feel like, but I feel like I'm gonna try my hardest to win, but it should be a race with a lot of safety cars, I'd say.
All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and pass you over to GameHawk. Once again, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
So I guess just the one question that I will ask as well, from your perspective, with the chaos of the flipping the grid around, how did you find it from your perspective, trying to weave through the crowd? Because you did have the incident in the sprint race, but then it seems like in the feature race, you really set the pace and you set the tone. So like, how did you feel trying to manage that?
I don't know. I feel like it wasn't too hard to manage, I'd say. Once again, I was just zooming past the grid. It was very chaotic of a race, so just trying to avoid incidents at the same time, but yeah, I guess that was pretty chaotic race, I'd say. But
yeah, and this might be one of the first times that I've ever quite seen the rain as it happened, where we weren't even fully aware that it was going to rain. If you were to go back and do the race again, and you talked about the wear that you put on your tires, would you end up pitting later than when you did?
yeah, I think so. Or I would have just boxed again for another set of inters and just take those to the end. That's it.
That's all
It was
I
only
have.
it was only the rears that were just costing me so much. My fronts were just like at 30%, but my rears were just fried. So I just had to take things cautiously. But yeah, great race.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that is all the questions that I have, unless Rekus has any more to ask.
I'm just gonna say best of luck to you next week and Monaco, and then once again, congrats on the win.
Appreciate it, boys. Have a good one.
You too.
You too.
All right, so that is going to go to wrap things up here at the NA division here at Rush Racing League. I once again want to thank all of our fantastic sponsors here. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Obviously, we have Sim Racing Center. You guys are always fantastic. Pagny and Sim Labs. You guys are also extremely fantastic. And of course, who could forget AI369? We love you guys so much. And most importantly, I want to thank the chat for being here and supporting us throughout today. And yeah, any final words, GameHawk?
Be here. I believe it is next week, correct, Rekus?
Yep, next week.
Be here next week for the North American Monaco race. You saw how it came out here. You see all of the competition between the drivers, and you see how chaotic it can get. And I think that means that you guys need to show up for Monaco and just experience the exciting action that North America has to offer. But it's been my absolute pleasure to be commentating here, and hopefully we see you guys there.
Indeed. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning on in. It has been another fantastic race here at the Rush Racing League North America Division. A big thank you to you, GameHawk, for jumping on in and manning the cameras. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much. On behalf of GameHawk, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekus, and we've been your hosts and commentators for today's Grand Prix and the sprint race. And we'll see you guys at the Principality at Monte Carlo next week. Have a good night.